Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome to our channel, the spiritual concept in English. So we starting a new series on the way to Kṛṣṇa. So they are a first episode to release. So let's start the video. So today's topic is the first episode, through the way to happiness. So did you know what is happiness? The happiness is Krishna's lotus foot. Everyone should happiness, but the real happiness is Lord Krishna's lotus feet. So searching for the happiness. So there are two options to happiness: relevant and obsolete. First of relevant is three categories: आध्यात्मिक, आदि भौतिक and आदिदैविक and आदिदैविक. आध्यात्मिक means body or mental pains. Adi bhautik means pain thus offered by living returners. And Adidevik is pain those due to supernatural disturbances. This is the three categories of relevance. Or obstinate is birth, old age, disease and death. And second sense are the hope to keep us in miserable condition of life. There are temporary pleasure and permanent distress. And third is we all have same goal and same happiness. So there are three relevance and three obstacles. And fourth one is without inspiring about the higher truth, we are just satisficant animals. And fifth, happiness lies beyond matter. And sixth, by making things better, we cannot make this world a better place. And seventh and last is more time is spent in quest for pleasure than the pleasure itself. So friends, there are three relevance and seven obsolete. So this is the way to the happiness. So we today talk about through the way to happiness. Every one of us is searching after happiness, but we do not know what is real happiness is. We see so much advertised about happiness, but practically speaking, we see so few happy people. This is because so few people know that the platform of real happiness is beyond temporary things. It is this real happiness that is described in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Kṛṣṇa to Arjuna. Happiness is generally perceived through our sense. A stone, for instance, has no sense and cannot perceive happiness and distress. Developed consciousness can perceive happiness and distress more essentially than undeveloped consciousness. Three have consciousness, but it is not developed. Tree may stand for a long time in all kinds of weather, but they have no way of perceive mysteries. If a human being we asked to stand like a tree for only 3 days or even less, he would not be able to tolerate it. The conscience is that every living being feels happiness or distress according to the degree of development of his consciousness. the happiness that we are experiencing in the material world's not a real happiness. If one asks a tree, are you feeling happiness? Are you feeling happy? The tree, if it might say, yes, I am the happy standing here all years. I am enjoying the wind and snowfall very much, etc. This may be enjoyed by the tree, but for the human being, it is a very low standard of enjoyment. There are a different kind and grades of living. Entities and their conceptions and perceptions of happiness are also of all different types and grades. Although one animal may see that another animal is being frustrated, he will go right on chewing grass, for he has no knowledge to understand that he may be next. He is thinking that he is happy, but at the next moment he may be significant. In this way, there are different degrees of happiness. Yet, of all of them, what is the highest happiness? Sri Kṛṣṇa tells Arjuna, Sukham atyakyaham yatattadha buddhi grayam atityanam Sukhatmayantika yatatya buddhi grayam atindriyam Vetti yatra chaivaya sitasrelayati yatatvata. That means that jealous state, samadhi, one is situated in boundless transconditional happiness and enjoys himself through transconditional sense. Established those one never departs for the truth. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 21, the buddhi means intelligence. One has to be intelligent if he wants to enjoy. Animals do not have a really developed intelligence and so cannot enjoy if as a human being can. The hands, the nose, the eyes, the other sense organs, and all the bodily parts may be present on a dead man, but he cannot enjoy. Why? He cannot enjoy. Why not? The enjoying energy, the spiritual spark, has a lift, and therefore the body has no power. If one look further into the matter with a little intelligence, he can understand that it was not the body that was enjoying at all, but the small spiritual spark that was within. Although one may think that he is enjoying by the bodily sense origins, the real enjoyer is the spiritual spark. That speaker always has a potency of enjoyment, but it is not always manifest due to being covered by the material tabernacle. Although we may not be aware of it, it is not possible for the body to experience enjoyment without the presence of this spiritual spark. If a man is offered the death body of a beautiful woman, he accept it? No, because the spiritual spark has moved out of the body. Not only was it enjoying within the body, but it was maintaining the body. When that spark leaves the body, simply deteriorates. It follows that if the spirit is enjoying, it must have its sense also. Otherwise, how can it enjoy? The Vedas confirm that the spirit soul, all truth, atomic in size, is the actual enjoying agent. It is not possible to measure the soul, but that is not to say that is without measurement. An object may seem to us to be no bigger than a point and may seem to have no length or width, but when we perceive it under a microscope, we can see that it has both length and width. Similarly, the soul also has its dimensions, but we cannot perceive them. When we buy a suit or dress, it is made to fit the body. The spiritual spark must have from, otherwise how is it that the material body has grown to accommodate it? The conscience is that the spiritual spark is not impersonal. It is an actual person. God is an actual person, and the spiritual spark, being a fundamental part of him, is also a person. If the Father has a personality and individuality, the Son also has them. And if the Son has them, we can conclude that the Father has them. So how can we, as sons of God, assert Father has them? So how can we, as Son of God, assert our personality and our individuality, and at the same time deny them to our Father, the Supreme Lord? So this is a material world, and the spiritual world operating the super and supreme God, then controlled by this material world. Atyendriyam means that we have to transcendental those material senses before we can appreciate real happiness. Ranmate yogino nate satyanananda chiddha atimani. The yogis who are aspiring after spiritual life are also tasting enjoyment. By focusing on the spiritual super soul within it, there is no pleasure. If there is no enjoyment, then what is the point of going to so much trouble to control the senses? What kind of pleasure are the yogis realizing if they are talking so much trouble? That pleasure is antata endless. How it is this? The spirit soul is internal and the Supreme Lord is internal. Therefore, soul is internal. Therefore, reciprocation of their loving exchanges is internal, and one who is actually intelligent will refrain from the flickering sensual enjoyment of this material body and fix his enjoyment in super life and spiritual life. His participation in spiritual life with the Supreme Lord is called Ras Leela. We have often heard to Kṛṣṇa's Ras Leela with the cowherd girls in Vrindavanam. That is not like ordinary exchanges that take place between these material bodies. Rather, it is an exchange of feeling through spiritual bodies. One has to be somewhat intelligent to understand this, for a foolish man who cannot understand what a real happiness is seeks happiness in the material world. In India, there is the story of a man who did not know what is sugarcane was and was told that it was very sweet to chew. Oh, what does it look like? He asked her. It looked like just a bamboo road. Someone said. So the foolish man began to chew all kinds of bamboo rods. How can he begin to experience that sweetness of significance? Similarly, we are trying to get happiness and pleasure, but we are trying for them by chewing this material body. Therefore, there is no happiness and no pleasure for the time being. There may be some little feeling of pleasure, but that is not an actual pleasure, for it is a temporary. It is like a show of a lighting that we may see a flashing in the sky, which may momentarily seem like lighting, but the real lighting is beyond that, because a person does not really know what is happiness. He is the devotees from real happiness. The process for establishing oneself in real happiness is this process of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. By Kṛṣṇa consciousness, we can gradually develop our real intelligence and naturally enjoy realizing spiritual happiness as we make spiritual progress. As we begin to realize spiritual happiness, we promotedly abandon material happiness. As we make a progress in understanding the absolute truth, we naturally become detached from this false happiness. If somehow or other one is promoted to that stage of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, what is the reason? In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 22. यलं द्वाय चापरं लाभ मान्यते निधिकत्तत यस्मिन् स्थातो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते. That means, upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never scanned even in the midst of greatest difficulty. When one attains the stage, other achievement. Ever insignificant in this material world, we are trying to achieve so many things: riches, human, fame, beauty, and knowledge. This is the five allegates of a beauty of God, and etc. But as soon as we are situated in Krishna consciousness, we think, oh, no achievement in is better than this. Krishna consciousness is so potent that a little test can save one from the greatest danger. As one begins to realize the taste of Krishna consciousness, he begins to see other so-called enjoyment and attainment as flat and tasteless. And if one is situated firmly in Krishna consciousness, the greatest danger cannot disturb him. There are so many dangers in life because the material world is a place of danger. We tend to close our eyes to this, and because we are foolish, we try to adjust to this dangerous. We may have many dangerous moments in our lives, but if we are training ourselves in Krishna consciousness and preparing ourselves to go home back to Godhead, we will not care for them. Our attitude will then be dangers come and go, so let him happen. It is a very difficult to make this kind of adjustment as long as one is on the materialistic platform and he is identifying with the gross body, which is composed of perishable elements. But the more one advances in Krishna consciousness, the more he becomes free for bodily designations and this material entanglement. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the material world is compared to the great ocean. Within this material universe, there are millions and billions of planets floating in space, and we can just imagine how many alternate and paratenic oceans are there. In fact, the whole material universe is linked to a great ocean of misery, an ocean of birth and death. In order to cross his great ocean of nescience, a strong boat is needed, and that a strong boat is the lotus feet of Krishna. We should immediately get aboard that boat. We should not assent thinking that Krishna's feet are very small. The whole universe is simply resting on his leg. For one who takes a shitter of his feet, it is said that the material universe is no more significant than a paddle of water found in the impression of a caliph's hoof print, there is certainly no difficulty in crossing over such a small puddle purely. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 23. Taham vidyadukha sanyoga viyoga yoga sagyatam. That means, this indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. We are entangled in this material world due to uncontrolled senses. The yoga process is meant to control these senses. If somehow we can manage to control the senses, we can turn our face to actual spiritual happiness and make our lives successful. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 24, 25 and 26. Saha nichena yoktavyo yogo nirvena chetasa sadankalpa prabhavan kva ma tasyaktva sarvanashita manassaivendriyakrama viniyasmya samantata शैनेय शैन्य रूप में दबुद्ध्य धृति गृहीतम त्रया आत्मसंस्थाय मन कृत्वा न कियज्जादापि चिन्तयेत यतो यतो निश्चयालान्ति मनश्वानश्वलाम्यस्थितरम ततत्योतातो नियम्येत ताद्म्यानेव वञ्चन्नयेत. That means, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with undeviating determination and faith. One should abandon without expectation all material desires born of a false ego and those control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Gradually, step by step, with full convictions, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone. The should think of nothing else. From whether and wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. The mind is always disturbed. It is going sometimes this way and sometimes that way. By yoga practice, we literally drag the mind off to Kṛṣṇa consciousness. The mind strays from to so many exterior objects, because from time immemorial, life after life, that has been our practice. Due to this, there may be great difficulty in the beginning when one tries to fix his mind in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, but these difficulties can all be overcome. It is because the mind is aggravated and not fixed on Kṛṣṇa that it goes from one thought to another. For instance, when we are engaged in work, memories of events that happen 10, 20, 30 or 40 years ago may suddenly come to our mind for not apparent reason. These truths come from our subconsciouses, and because they are always rising, the mind is always against it. If we against it a lakh or a pound, all the mood from the bottom comes to the surface. Similarly, when the mind is against it, so many thoughts arise from the subconsciouses that have been stories we there over the year. If we do not disturb a pound, the mood will settle to the bottom. This yoga process is the main to quiet the mind and allows all these thoughts to settle. For this reason, there are so many rules and regulations to follow in order to keep the mind from becoming agitated. If we follow the rules and regulations gradually, the mind will come under control. There are so many designs and so many do's, and if one is serious about training the mind, he has to follow them. If he acts wisely, what is the possibility of the mind being controlled? When the mind is finally trained to the point where it will think of nothing but Kṛṣṇa, it will attain peace and will become very tranquil. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 20. प्रशान्तं मनसं यो न योगिनं सुखमुत्तमम् उप्येति शान्तरजस ब्रह्मभूतमकल्पशम्. That means the yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest happiness by virtue of his identify with Brahman. He is liberate, his mind is peaceful, his passions are quieted, and he is freed from sense. The mind is always concocting objects for happiness. I am always thinking this will make me happy, or that will make me happy. Happiness is here, happiness is there. In this way, the mind is thinking us anywhere and everywhere. It is as truth. We are riding on a chariot behind an abandoned horse. We have no power over there we are going, but can only sit in horror and watch helplessly. As soon as the mind is engaged in the Kṛṣṇa consciousness process, specifically by chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then the wild horses of the mind will gradually come under our control. We must engage in Kṛṣṇa service every moment of our lives in order to keep the restless and turbulent mind from dragging us from one object to another in a vain search for happiness in the temporary material world. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 28. यज्जन्नेव सदात्मान योगी विक्तकल्पश सुखेनं ब्रह्मस्पर्श मत्यंत सुखमश्रुते. That means steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness in touch with the supreme consciousness. Kṛṣṇa serves as a patron for one who is devoted to him. When one has a difficulty, his patron saves him. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa is the real friend of every living entity, and we have to revive our friendship with him. The method for reviving this friendship is the process of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. By practice of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, mundane, passionate hankering will come to a stop. This passionate hankering keeps us divorced from Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is with us and he is waiting for us to turn to him, but we are too busy passionately eating the fruits of the tree of material desire. This passionate compulsion to enjoy these fruits must stop, and we must situate ourselves in our real identity as Brahman, pure spirit. So that's the video, guys. So we today talk about what is happiness, the searching of the happiness, and through the way to happiness. Everything is happiness, but we are all searching after happiness, but few of us know that the basis of a real happiness is something internal, beyond temporary material things. We are trying to get happiness through this temporary material body. Therefore, we are fruited. The spirit soul is internal, and the Supreme Lord is internal. Therefore, reciprocation of their loving exchanges is internal. By Kṛṣṇa consciousness, we can realize spiritual happiness as we make spiritual progress. So, there is the first episode. If you like this episode, click a like icon. Don't forget to subscribe the spiritual concept in English. There is the first episode. If you like this episode, send the comment how do you like this episode. So stay tuned. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.